Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Beruchim Abaim to everybody. Today, Thursday, the 6th day of Adar, corresponding to the 6th day of March 2025. Today's class dedicated for the Refuah Shelema of Leah Bat Sara, Eli Haim Ben Meirav Metal, Abraham Ilan Rafael Ben Elisheva Ilanit, Jorge Gabriel Ben Sulema, among the Holim of Am Israel. So tonight will be the Hilula of Moshe Rabbeinu Alav Shalom. Zayin Adar is tonight, the very holy date in which discusses the birth and the passing of Moshe. Beli Neder tomorrow morning will discuss the essence and the life of Moshe Rabbeinu that is close to each and every one of us. The way the Pasuk writes, Torah Tzivalanu Moshe Morasha Kehilat Yaakov. The Torah that was commanded to us by Moshe Rabbeinu is the inheritance of the congregation of Am Israel, so to speak. Another pasuk says, Zichru Torat Moshe Avdi. Remember the Torah of Moshe, my servant. That means that Moshe Rabbeinu is Rabban Shel Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu is the rabbi of all times for the Jewish people, the best, or they should say, the greatest of all the Nevi'im of Am Israel, because the way the Pasuk writes in the Perashah, Lokam Navi Israel ke Moshe Od. There was never a prophet like Moshe Rabbeinu. So Be'ezat Hashem, light a candle at home, make your personal prayers, and God willing, we'll discuss tomorrow about the life of Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, today, I'd like to go straight to the Musar of today, which is a continuation of what we learned yesterday towards the end of the class. I do know that we covered a lot of ground in so many different topics, so maybe I'll go to the end. I'm going to go to the end of yesterday's class and then take over the bridge to today's actual text topic, which is Sha'arei Kedusha, the gates of holiness, on chapter number 4. So we concluded yesterday not only discussing the detrimental effects of sadness, so to speak, but at the end we discussed the benefits of happiness. And at the end, the Sha'arei Kedusha says as follows. It says, number 1, the Gemara writes in Masechet Shabbat, En ha-Shekhinah shora lo mitoch atzvut, ela mitoch simcha. Says godliness cannot dwell when there is sadness, but godliness becomes attracted to happiness. In other words, if a person develops this magnificent attribute to have in life, to be happy, and you may say, but how can someone be happy all the time? You know what? I settle with you. Be happy 95% of the time. We deal with the 5% some of the time. You have to understand. But there are people who 95% of the time are not happy. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem for them, besides the people that are around them. So at the end, it says, Biyoto obed besimcha. When a person serves God with joy, the way it says, chapter 100 of Tehillim. What's so famous about this chapter? Because it's the chapter of gratitude. The chapter of gratitude, the famous chapter that we recite every weekday, Mizmor LeTodah. The famous chapter right here. Mizmor LeTodah. Ibdu et Hashem besimcha. Serve God with joy. So comes the Sha'arei Kedusha. And it says, if the person is happy, now we have a weapon against the Yetzer Hara. Suddenly, your defense mechanism is activated. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara utilizes the opposite of happiness to capture the person. It's an unbelievable thing. In other words, it's like vitamin S for simcha, for happiness. That's chapter 100, Mizmor LeTodah. Magnificent. Ki ha-simcha, because of happiness, mosifa heshek rak, rav, it adds excitement to the person, especially leidabek bo itbarach, when a person wants to develop a relationship with God, happiness gives you a tool. Imagine yourself a child that needs to wake up to go to school and is difficult. And let's be honest, all of us go through that or went through that in our life, early stages when we were children or we have children, and we'll see the challenges of waking the child up. Come on time, get dressed on time, hurry up, you're going to miss the bus, you're going to come late to school. Baruch haba. But what happens if you tell the child, we're going to Orlando tomorrow, 5 o'clock in the morning? Hazako Baruch. He's going to wake you up at 4:30 telling you, you late. We need to leave at 5 to be there on time when the Disney opens at 9 o'clock. What was the difference between the child that goes to school every day and now the child going to Orlando? It's the same child. Hazako Baruch. When you do something with happiness, or there is a certain level in happiness in whatever you do, by default, it activates. It activates the boost. It gives a boost. That was the proper word. Gives a boost to the person. And this is not me saying this. This is a concept that the Torah brings down. And now comes today's actual chapter. So it says as follows. Here the Ora Haim HaKadosh, before I go to the Sha'arei Kedusha, in this particular parasha, brings a fascinating concept. And it says, Amru Rabotenu Zal, our holy rabbis told us in Masechet Berachot. It says the following, Hayav Adam levarech al ra'a, keshem shemevarech al tova. It says a person must bless God when certain unfortunate things happens, like you bless God when certain good things happen. And the obvious question is, how do you do that? How do you achieve that level? I understand when there is something good, therefore the goodness of the matter or the goodness of whatever happened triggers my happiness. But how do you expect me to be thanking, or should say not thanking, but blessing Hashem when an unfortunate situation happens? So it says as follows, Haisurim, challenges of life, makrivim anfei haneshama shayu rechokim mishorasham. It says the Or Haim HaKadosh that sometimes a person goes through challenges, and these challenges many times, and it says the footnote, which I'm going to read now, it says the concept of the neshama. The neshama, we say this every day. I hope that I'm going to express a deep topic with simplicity for everybody's benefit. But we know every day in the morning, we wake up, what do we say? That you return my neshama, etc. Then Birkot HaShachar, Elokai, neshama shenatata bi, tehorahi. So we understand that the neshama is the way it says, Helek Eloka mima'al. It's like a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak. It's a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem takes a part of his kaviyachol, whatever that means. I'm only using pashut words so we understand. And suddenly it's injected. So our neshama, it can be categorized or named as the battery of the body. Without the battery, the machine doesn't work. If you have no gasoline, the car doesn't run. If you don't charge your electric car, your car doesn't run. So the neshama becomes the main component of the human body. That's what the Gemara writes in Masechet Nida. The Gemara writes there are three partners in the creation of a human being: the husband, the wife, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And everybody gives a different investment. We need to make a pool of investors. What are you giving? I'm giving X, Y, Z. And what are you giving? I'm giving C, D, E, whatever. So Hashem says, you do what you do, I give eyesight, movement, listening, life. When it comes the time, Haz v'shalom, that the person needs to meet the Creator, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want my investment back. He takes the neshama and it goes up to Shamayim, and the body remains behind. Because since the investors were humans, so the body stays with humans. Since the neshama is godly, the neshama goes up. That's the reason why we say le'ilui nishmat, to the elevation of the soul, because the body doesn't get elevated. Sure, the body gets elevated in this world by kasher, by avodat Hashem, by doing the mitzvot with the body. That's how the person elevates the body. But at the end of the day, the body, it's, let's call it the shell for the neshama. So it says the Or Haim HaKadosh, and it says that sometimes the hiccups that a person experiences in life, or the challenges known as isurim, hen makrivim anfei הנשמה שהיו רחוקים משרשם. God forbid, you ever saw Hatzalah, they use an AED, they use a defibrillator machine. What they do, they shock the body, yani telling the heart, come back. They do tehiyat metim, so to speak. You know what the Or Haim HaKadosh says? That isurin, the setbacks or challenges in life, is like a jolt of energy into the neshama. Waking up the neshama and telling the neshama, wake up. Wake up. You may say, but hold on, how come that religious people, they also need a wake-up call? So I'm going to answer you what we spoke with his son last night. We were together and we discussed, Hakam, what are you doing in the back? You're sure you would like to watch? You're sure? Okay. Great rabbi visiting us from Panama. Baruch haba. Thank you. So we were discussing, he was asking a question about rabbis. Rabbis. If being a rabbi, you need to have a suit and a tie, right? That was a question last night. If a rabbi has suit and tie, and this is part of the uniform. So I said to him, the expectations that there is from a rabbi are way different than the expectations that you have from a wonderful person. Bottom line. And a rabbi cannot afford a rainy day. A rabbi cannot afford, no, today is not a good day, don't talk to me. That doesn't exist in our vocabulary. Rain or shine, we walk around with a smile, with avodat Hashem, with irat shamayim, etc. But then the question's still on the table. But why good people go through certain challenges? I honestly do not have the answer. You know who asked the same question? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu in next week's parasha will say, Har'eni na et kevodecha, show me your face. In the moment of goodwill, when Hashem was forgiving the Jewish people for the sin of the golden calf, and it was a me'et ratzon, there was a moment that God, so to speak, was in good spirits, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, you know what, if I'm able to achieve such a guarantee from HaKadosh Baruch Hu concerning the sin of the golden calf, I'm going to ask him a question. And he asks God, Har'eni na et kevodecha, show me your face. What does it mean, show me your face? He says, I want to understand what a good person suffers and why not a good person prospers. So what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Bera'ita et ahorai ufanai lo yerau. God shows him the kesher, the knot of the tefillin of the back. God says to Moshe, all this appears in front of your eyes because you're judging the book by its cover. You see what's in front of you and you think, oh, this is the life. Ufanai. But what happened from the beginning? Lo yerau. You were not around. So what does that mean? I think what the Rashi means on that pasuk is that often the person judges for whatever is in front of the person. but the person doesn't have a GPS tracker. What happened from the beginning of creation? Who is this person? And why this person became hurt by this person? Or why this person lost money because of that person? You know how many stories are mentioned about tzaddikim, about the Baal Shem Tov, about the topic of tikkunim, about the repairs done from previous lives? We don't have that answer. But one thing I did say last night to the family, it says a Yehudi is not judged by the following of halakha. Following halakha is one component of who we are as Yehudim. There is another component called Torah learning. And there is the third component, which is for sure the most challenging. How is our behavior? Behavior with people and God. Because you may pray every day and you may learn Torah every day. But if you curse or you mistreat people, or you do or you act in ways which are problematic, don't do the world favors. Don't learn Torah. Close the book. Because then you're not sanctifying God's names. You are causing a Hilul Hashem. You are desecrating God's names. So to be an ambassador of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a package. And guess what? I have something good to tell you. Every Jew is an ambassador of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't think for a moment only rabbis are ambassadors. Rabbis may be the higher level of ambassador. That's why there is a higher expectation. But as far as concerned, the rest of the world, Am Israel, everyone is a representative of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's therefore, so it says, שאין לך רע ומר כעוזבו את השם אלוקיך. It says there is nothing more painful to God when the person keeps away from godliness. ובאמצעות האיסורים, says the Or HaXaim HaKadosh, through the struggles and challenges of life, יתקרב הרחוק. God is giving you a lifeline. I want you. I believe in you, the way the song says. I believe in you, but I need you to get closer. How does that God achieves that? There are many ways. I don't have all the answers. And sometimes it could be something minimal, and the person says, okay, I got the message, I'm back. Sometimes it's like you want to send a text message, a WhatsApp, an email, a fax, a letter, and you get no response. So what do? Subpoena. The subpoena is the Isurin. Subpoena means a court order. Yani the person gets subpoena, it's called subpoena. No, SU, but okay, it's fine. Doesn't matter. You can appeal. That appeal means teshuva. That's your appeal. You want to appeal the subpoena? No problem. Let me do better. As long, I'm going to tell you a secret now, which is not a secret, but as long as the person listens to the message and starts trying to make the change, we are in the good track. Umodeh be'ozev yeruham. The moment that we recognize and you say, you know what? Yes, I did this wrong. I did that wrong. I'm going to start to come back. Hashem says, beautiful. You got the message. You have a signature. You sign that I woke you up and I send you a message. Yeruham. That's what we say in the Tashlich prayers out in the waterfront. What do we say? Bithuli petach kehuto shel mahat. Open for me like the eye of the needle. So what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, give me a tiny opening, and the rest will work it out together. That's the end of the parasha. So it's a fascinating Or HaXaim HaKadosh. So someone may say, but hold on, how can you bring this when it comes to the original source of this Gemara? What is the halacha behind this Gemara? The beracha that says, Dayan HaEmet. When do we say the blessing? When somebody passes away. So then why do you bless that somebody passed away? There are a few answers to this. Number one, I'm going to tell you a few things. That I don't know how the system works. You know why? Because no one knows how the system works. Hanistarot la Hashem Elokeinu, the Pasuk says. All these matters that I'm telling you are beyond our comprehension as far as concerned. What is the measuring tool that God utilizes? Do you know that when a person, God forbid, leaves the world, it's not just happening automatically? It's a whole calculation of the deeds of the person plus the deeds of the people connected to the neshama of the person, and many times the good deeds can deter and delay passing. Even though that maybe the original due date arrived and the expiration date expired, Shamayim says keep going. Why? His date expired, true, but he has such a wonderful family, and they constantly do good things, and there is unity, and there is harmony, and there is a lot of good things. So you know what? Let him stay another 6 months. That's what's written in the holy books. The opposite, I hope, is not true. I hope that the opposite is not true. But also there is something written about it, since you brought it up, that God forbid, when somebody passes away, in a very deep spiritual level, and I hope that nobody takes it the wrong way, but basically it's like midat adin, the attribute of judgment, is activated against the family. And that's why there is the Avelut protocol, that everybody sits Shiv'ah and mourns, which is written in the books of Avelut, that the halachot of the Shiv'ah mitigates the judgment on the neshama of the person. Because since the people suddenly put a stop on the life, or put a pause on the life, and now following the protocols of the Shiv'ah, sitting down, the prayers, the Kaddish, the non-leather shoes, all the matters that are applicable, God forbid, in a period of the Shiv'ah, those moments, the following of those halachot mitigates judgment against the person who was niftar. And that's why if you look in the laws of Avelut, says, don't cry too much on someone that passed away, because the neshama is not happy that people are crying for the neshama. Why? Because the neshama says, I'm in Gan Eden, or I'm in a different league now. As the problem with us is that we sometimes forget that the world functions with a combination of two elements: the power of physicality, gashmiut, and ruhaniyut, and spirituality. So when the neshama leaves and the neshama goes through the process, the neshama sees life and the family from a complete different perspective. And by the way, there is nothing wrong to cry, because the Gemara says you should cry, but don't cry to the point that you turn against God, God forbid. Why did this happen? And why did that happen? We don't understand. Why the hostages? Why the Nova? Why the Holocaust? Why the Inquisition? We have a lot of questions, and we do not have a lot of answers. But the Torah says this in Perashat Nitzavim. I said the beginning of the Pasuk. I'm going to tell you now the second part. We started to say, Hanistarot la Hashem Elokeinu. The hidden matters belongs to the Almighty. Be'aniklot lanu ulbanenu ad olam. But whatever is revealed is for us and our future. La'asot et kol divrei Torah azot. To follow the ways of the Torah. We don't understand everything? Chazak Baruch. Well, let me ask you a question. You go see a doctor, and the doctor gives you a prescription. Okay? Most of us, we do. We tell the doctor, can you send it electronically to CVS? So Haz v'Shalom, I don't have to wait half an hour for the med. Let me ask you, what if you tell the doctor, doctor, can you explain to me why you gave me this medicine that is pink? I don't like pink, I like white. What is the reason I tell you? Rohi, it took me 12 years, 15 years to become a doctor. You have to understand why you are this way. You have to understand the chemical composition of this medicine. And you have to understand how this medicine works in your condition. And many times what they do, they give you a medicine for condition A, but then they need to take a medicine for condition B, cause for the medicine that you took for condition A. Isakiani, you have a hole in your tire, you go fix one, and you say, I like a holy tire, you make a bigger hole. Hazaku Baruch. So the question is, how do we get rid of a lot of the challenges that we have been learning for the past few minutes? So comes the Sha'arei Kedusha, and it says as follows. There is a very famous pasuk from Shlomo HaMelech that says, Birkat Hashem hi ta'ashir. The blessing of Hashem is what causes the person to become successful. Everybody likes the pasuk, success, wealth, nice. How do you activate that blessing? Or what do you need to do to make sure that the blessing is not blocked? Because there is a way that a person can block blessings. I give you two scenarios. Number one, foul language. A person, God forbid, that uses vulgarity, profanity, the way the Goyim talk, the Gemara writes, that blocks blessings. Blessings that were pre-approved when you were born. Because the Gemara in Kiddushin says it, Tosafot says it. A lot of the things are determined. We learned this a few days ago in the Gemara that says, Akol min hashamayim chutz mirat shamayim. Right? Akol bidei shamayim. The Gemara writes in Masechet Bava Metzia. What's the meaning of Akol bidei shamayim? Everything that happens to the person, there is a reason. That we don't understand it, that's a different question. But if we listen to the messages, we're going to be able to hopefully say, I got the message. And that message, irrelevant of what that message is, I'm not talking about it specifically in the topic of setbacks and challenges in life. Do you know how do you reverse that? By recognizing the need to change. Then your question will be, but what do I change? Your answer is whatever you feel that they can use an improvement. If not, check with your rabbi. With your wife also. Remember that your wife is God's mouthpiece. Many times, that's what's written in the holy books. So it says, any change you make could be a simple change of saying berachot before you eat. That's simple. You don't have to make changes of suddenly you're going to fast 40 days. Or you're going to fast from Sunday through Friday, the way many generations ago used to do it, to have day fasting. Today they call it intermittent fasting for dieting purposes. But they're talking about the tikkunim that people used to do. The tikkunim was based on the amount of fast days. Based on the transgression, how many fast days you will take upon yourself. Hachamim realized already by the time of Rabbeinu Ari, and it was reinforced in the time of the Baal Shem Tov. It's like the famous story that a fellow came to a great Hasidic master by the name of Rabbi Michal Mizlachov, and he heard that a person that takes upon themselves certain days of fasting will meet Eliyahu Navi. Nice. So this fellow exactly did what he heard in a Torah class. He fasted, the days go by, no Eliyahu Navi, nothing. He comes to the rabbi. He says, Rabbi, I fasted, I don't know how many days. When I say fast, I mean daytime fasting. From dawn till sunset, basically, so to speak, till nightfall rather. Okay, 12, 13 hours. And Eliyahu Navi did not come. What's going on? So what the rabbi said to this fellow, let me ask you a question. When you finish the fast at the end of the day, do you eat? So the fellow says, of course. And how do you eat? He says, I finished the whole tray of food because I'm starving. So basically the rabbi said to him, you eat like Esav. You think that Eliyahu Navi is going to meet Esav? Eat like Yaakov, and maybe you will merit. So what the Hakamim realized, that people were doing the ta'aniyot in a mechanical fashion, but without really internalizing what prompted the ta'anit. Is what Safra to the writes. What's the whole idea of fasting? Do you know how many fast days were in history? How many fast days we have today? 5 plus Kippur. You know how many fast days were through Jewish history? That they were cancelled. They were cancelled. Cancelled by the rabbis. For every calamity, there was a fast day. Fast day of Frankfurt. Fast day of Syria. Fast day of Yemen. Fast day of Egypt. Fast day of Saragossa. Fast day of Rome. Fast day of these. Why fasting days? Because there were calamities and tragedies that got rid of thousands of Jewish people, especially in Europe. From the Crusades till the Holocaust, more Jewish people perish under Christianity than under Islam, by the way. Islam makes a lot of noise. But if you need to compare, Christianity has a lot of Jewish blood in their hands. We're talking about 1,000 years at least, maybe more. And for every tragedy, Ta'anit, Gemara Ta'anit, the tractate of the Talmud Ta'anit. Why it's called Ta'anit? Fasting. But why was fasting in Israel? Because there was no rain. That was the reason of the fasting. Because the blockage of the rain is a divine consequence of sins. Is a punishment. Drought is a punishment. It's a pasuk in the Torah. To wake up the people. Now, I don't want anybody to say, oh, God is so, the opposite. Avinu Abba Rahaman. God is merciful. Rahem Aleinu. If God will not have the attribute of mercy, we will not be here. The world will not exist. Look what happened in the time of Noah. What happened with the Mabul, Sodom, Amorah, etc. Earthquakes. Where? Eilat in Israel, in the southern. Okay, 4.4 is better than 7.4. Yes. Okay, bottom line, God, by the way, God talks to earthquakes. God talks through hurricanes. God talks to wind, through fire, through snow. Eshu bara chelek bekitor. Ruach se'ara osa devaro. What this pasuk means? You say this every day of your life. It's not the Agadah of Pesach once a year. Every day of your life, you say this verse. Ruach se'ara osa devaro. They are agents of God. And by the way, our holy rabbis tell us something that some of us may not like, but that's what's written in the holy books. That a Yehudi should never have the attitude of saying, the fires of California doesn't affect us because it's in California. The earthquake of Eilat doesn't affect me because it's in Eilat. Our rabbis tell us that from any abnormal situation in life that affects any part in the world, a person must open up their eyes and try to take upon themselves something. It's like a person celebrates a birthday. Okay, Hazako Baruch, you celebrating a birthday. What are you celebrating? God give you gratitude to Hashem. But how do you reciprocate that gratitude? Our rabbis tell us that when your birthday comes, you should take a few moments for yourself and think about your life. See what can you do better from now on. And that is between you and God. You celebrate your birthday and they're going to do a birthday party, it's expected that you will get a gift, correct? Correct or not? Okay, for me, don't bring me cakes. And don't bring me ties. My birthday is coming up. I'm warning you. 3 weeks from now. Don't tell me I didn't tell you. Actually, what day is today? The 6th. My birthday is the 24th. So actually, 18 days from today is my birthday. Hebrew. It's before Pesach. Doesn't matter. Pesach, don't worry about it. Okay? Don't bring me a cake. Nothing. Just be nice. That's all. Okay? Hazako Baruch. My bank account is 7702. That's a different story. Okay? But, in a more serious note, you know what our rabbis tell us the birthday is? Is an opportunity to take upon yourself something that till now was not really done, observed, followed, or can use an improvement. Could be as simple as not talking during prayers when you're not allowed to talk. Could be simple as trying to come to the prayers on time. Could be as simple saying Al Sheriatzar from the page, from the prayer book, or from the sign that is outside of the bathroom. How long did any one of these gifts are costing you anything? No. It costs you the mindset. Okay, God has been good to me. God is giving me X, Y, Z in my life. What can I give Him? Our rabbis tell us in the person's birthday, you have a few things. Number one, the mazal of the person is reactivated. Why? Because it's the birthday, the anniversary of your neshama. It's like a wedding anniversary. The day of your birthday is your wedding anniversary between you and your neshama, between the body and the soul. So when you're going to celebrate an anniversary, you got to do something, right? Can you imagine forgetting your anniversary? So the mazal of the person becomes reactivated, and it says that it's the day that a person should do ahlatot tovot. There are people that I know that on the day of the birthday they don't go to work. It's a Yom Tov. They sit down, they pray, they read Tehillim, they learn Torah. I'm not saying that this is a halacha. I'm not telling you to do that. But I'm telling you to what level a person activates the mazal that becomes reactivated on your birthday. Hebrew, priority one. Always the Hebrew, priority one. But if for some reason somebody missed the Hebrew and wants to do the English, do the English. Not a problem. Good question, not a problem whatsoever. But since we know the Hebrew date, it's easier to follow it. It's the day between you and God. Oh, and again, I'm not telling you that you don't have to go to work. You can go to work, but take advantage of that day, because that day you are the star of the day. So I started to mention the pasuk that says the blessing of God causes the person to become successful. What is the second half of this pasuk? Belo Yosif Etzev Imah. With one condition, God says, I don't want to see you sad. It says, do not add sadness. Birkat Hashem eno mishra. Why? Because blessing and sadness, they don't go together. It's like you want to mix water and oil. What happens if you mix water and oil? You can never mix them. Even though to the eye it appears a mixing, come back in 1 minute, what are you going to see? The oil floating, the water going to the bottom. Separation. That's exactly what the Sha'arei Kedusha says. The beracha is coming. I'm about to land. You come Tisha B'Av, let's go back. That's what the Sha'arei Kedusha says. כי העיצבון הוא נמשך מזוהמת כוח הטומאה. Because sadness, it has a dark background. What sadness achieves? Creates a black aura. you see everything dark. You see everything negative. And he gives further statements, but he goes further and it says that we find in the case of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu went to a tremendous amount of challenges in his life. One of them was Yosef. Now, for 22 years, Yosef HaSaddik was separated from his house, from his parents, from his father. I ask you a question. Why didn't God come to Yaakov, letting Yaakov know, by the way, Yosef, your son, is alive? So it says, you know what it says here? It says, Shenishtaleka mimenu shechina beruach hakodesh. It says, because Yaakov shaya sharui besa'ar ube'itzavon. Yaakov Avinu felt so depressed for the whereabouts of Yosef that Shekhinah says, if you are this way, I cannot be next to you. And therefore it says, Ukeshesamach, but when Sara bat Asher came and she started to play the instruments, and then the pasuk says, Bayar et agalot asher shalach lahem Yosef. Yaakov Avinu saw the agalot, the chariots, so to speak, that Yosef sent, but he Ruach Yaakov Avihem, and the spirit of Yaakov resurrected. Resurrected. But he, no es elevator, but he is Tehiyat HaMetim. Yaakov was resurrected. Why? Because Yaakov smiled. Why Yaakov smiled? Because Yaakov understood that Yosef was alive. And even when Yaakov was told that he was alive, I want you to know behind the scenes, Yaakov Avinu wasn't really convinced. Then the next question popped up. Is Yosef alive physically and spiritually dead? That's the reason why the pasuk, listen again to the pasuk, Bayaret ha'agalot asher shalach lahem Yosef. The chariots that were sent by Yosef. Hold on a minute. If the pasuk before says that Paro also sent chariots to Yaakov, what happened to them? They were destroyed. Why they were destroyed? Because they had engraved images of idolatry. And they did not want to bring Tum'ah to the area where Yaakov Avinu lived, so they got rid of them. Now let me ask you a question. What difference does it make? What kind of animals did Yosef send to Yaakov in the chariots? Why the Torah specifically tells us Bayareta agalot? Why don't you say Bayareta ochel? They saw the food that Yosef sent. Let me ask you a question. Can you eat a chariot? You can eat Cheerios. You cannot eat chariots. Chariots. Right? So why the Torah tells me he saw the chariots? Imagine yourself, you bring a gift and the person says, oh, thank you so much for gifting me wrapping paper. Because you like the wrapping. Or you say, thank you so much for the gift. What do you say thank you for? For the wrapping paper or the gift? So why the Torah says, Yaakov saw the wrapping? Because Yaakov was telling, Yosef was telling Yaakov, Dad, I know you are concerned, but I want to remind you what was the last Torah that we learned together. That was the mitzvah of Eglah Arufah. Eglah Arufah refers to a procedure done to when, God forbid, a corpse, a dead body is found between two cities. And they don't know what exactly happened. They need to make a special sacrifice in the area to atone for the death of this person. So when Yaakov saw the Eglah, he understood that Yosef is telling, if you are concerned about my spiritual well-being, I want you to know that I still remember the Torah that we learned together. And that's the reason why when the brothers of Yaakov, I'm almost done. At the end of it, he spoke so much. The brothers of Yaakov are talking to, the sons of Yaakov rather, are talking to Yaakov. What they say to Yaakov? Bechihu moshel bechol eres Misraim. Yosef hu shalit. What is the purpose of this pasuk by telling Yaakov, by the way, he is the ruler of Egypt. He is in control in Egypt. Because Yaakov says, my son is alive and he's in Egypt. I have a question. Who is running who? Is Egypt managing Yosef? Meaning that Yosef is physically alive but is spiritually dead? Or Yosef has his own defense mechanism that he's in control? The sons told Yaakov, Bechihu moshel bechol eres Misraim. Yosef hu shalit. Yosef is in charge. So we are happy to report, they said to Yaakov, not only that Yosef is physically alive, but spiritually alive as well. And that's why Yosef HaSadik merited from all of the sons of Yaakov of having two sons that became the Shevatim of Am Israel, and they are the two Shevatim that we bless our children for eternity till Mashiach comes. When we say the Beracha is what? Yesimecha Elokim Kephraim Bechimnashe. This is a different topic altogether. Go back to Perashah Vayhi that we talk about this topic, why specifically Ephraim and Menachem were selected and not Abraham, Isaac and Yaakov. But listen to the recording and you'll have the answer very nice. Okay, my good friends? Of course. And Abraham Avinu too. The Gemara writes that Rabotenu HaKedoshim and the Shevatim follow the Torah. But I must clarify that when it means follow the Torah, they were in such a spiritual level that the level of observance of the Torah was on a spiritual level than perhaps the physicality level that we understand because of the guidelines of the Torah. But for sure, look how many mitzvot: Matzot, Korban Pesach, Hegla Arufah, Eruv, Netilat Yadayim, Berachot. All these things already happened, but they became candlelighting of Sara Imenu, separation of the Halah. So of course the answer is yes. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah